On December 7, 2022, the Russian-registered cargo ship Lady R arrived at Simonstown, South Africa's primary naval base. The vessel's nocturnal loading and offloading, conducted under armed guard, remain shrouded in mystery and have fueled tensions between the South African and United States governments. The incident also exacerbated economic challenges, contributing to currency depreciation and rising fuel and food prices. The South African government's decision to grant entry to a Russian vessel linked to Vladimir Putin's regime, one already sanctioned by the United States, was bound to attract public scrutiny, particularly amid Russia's war of territorial expansion against Ukraine. Whether military authorities mishandled a covert transfer of materials or deliberately defied NATO-aligned powers remains unclear. While the focus has largely remained on Lady R, less attention has been given to activities on shore. On December 8, 2022, a day after the ship's arrival, observers noted two large commercial trucks carrying containers, a private contractor's motorized crane, and three luxury German vehicles stationed near a sports field in Simonstown. Under the cover of load shedding after 8 p.m., these vehicles formed a convoy that discreetly transported containers to and from Lady R. The shipping containers loaded onto Lady R were transported by Jacobs Transport, a large Gauteng-based company known for its fleet of heavy-duty trucks. The company's branding, which features an American muscle car aesthetic, is prominently displayed across its social media pages. Among the specialized services listed on its website is the transportation of hazardous materials, including explosives transport and UN Class 1 freight, categories that typically involve cargo posing a mass explosion risk. Such materials are generally transported for a limited clientele, including mining operations and military entities. Jacobs Transport also highlights on its website that its trucks are equipped with tracking devices and live cameras. This information should be of particular interest to retired Judge Phineas Mojapelo, who was appointed by President Cyril Ramaphosa to lead a classified inquiry into the Lady R shipment. The availability of tracking data and recorded footage could be crucial in determining the exact route taken by the trucks between Johannesburg and Cape Town, including any potential stops at military bases or arms manufacturers where materials might have been loaded. The extent to which Mojapelo's inquiry pursues and analyzes this evidence will serve as a measure of its thoroughness. Parked alongside the trucks and their cargo were three vehicles: two Mercedes-Benz combis, one white and one silver, and a black BMW. It was confirmed that at least one of these vehicles, the white Mercedes-Benz, is registered to a front company controlled by the South African National Defence Force, SANDF. This front company serves as a cover for operations conducted by the SANDF Special Forces Regiment, based in Phalaborwa, Limpopo. The South African Special Forces, formerly known as the Recce's, are the country's equivalent of the British SAS or the US Navy SEALs. As an elite military unit, they specialize in intelligence gathering and deep infiltration missions, operating on land and by air. Most recently, they have been deployed alongside Mozambican government forces in northern Mozambique, alongside Rwandan troops in a direct warfare unlike in DRC. However, South African law prohibits them from operating within the country's borders, unless supporting a police operation that has been authorized by the President and approved by Parliament. Their presence in Simonstown, nearly 2,000 kilometers from their base in Phalaborwa, raises questions but aligns with speculation that Lady R docked in South Africa to deliver military equipment to the Special Forces. What remains unexplained is why Special Forces personnel were using luxury civilian vehicles, given their primary role in external military operations. At least one of these vehicles, the white Mercedes-Benz Combi, is registered to Peters Communications Trust, PCT, a Special Forces front company. Originally established as a trust in 2002, PCT was re-registered as a company in 2017. Major General Herbert Dilabogo Mashego, the former commander of the SANDF Special Forces, served as a director of PCT from 2017 until his promotion to General Officer commanding the SA Army Infantry Division in January 2023. With Special Forces personnel present at the scene in Simonstown, it is likely they had direct knowledge of Lady R's cargo. Given their involvement, Judge Phineas Mojapelo's inquiry should have sought testimony from Mashego and his subordinates. Any failure to do so would have represented a significant oversight in the investigation. December 2022 proved to be an active period for vehicles registered to Peters Communications Trust, PCT, despite it being the festive season. On December 29, 2022, 3 weeks after Lady R docked in Simonstown, 3 luxury German vehicles linked to PCT, a grey Audi, a white BMW, and a white Mercedes-Benz Combi, were captured on camera at the Mall of Africa in Midrand. One of these vehicles, the white Mercedes-Benz Combi, appeared to have identical number plates to the one spotted alongside Lady R's cargo in Simonstown. This raises questions about whether the continued use of such a recognizable vehicle was an act of carelessness by an elite SANDF unit or a deliberate misstep. On the same day, Ethiopian national Abdella Hussein Abadiga and his bodyguard Kadir Jamal Abateze were abducted from the Mall of Africa. Abadiga's brother Abdurrahim Abadiga later stated in court papers the abduction was carried out by SANDF members. Abadiga, who held refugee status in South Africa, had been placed on the US Department of Treasury's Office of Foreign Assets Control, OFAC, sanctions list in March 2022. His refugee status was revoked on December 15, 2022, just 2 weeks before his disappearance. He and 3 others were sanctioned for alleged ties to the Islamic State of Iraq and Syria, ISIS, and its Mozambican affiliate, with accusations of recruiting fighters and financing the group. One of the individuals on the OFAC list, Tanzanian Peter Charles Mbaga, reportedly vanished within days of being sanctioned. Neither Abadiga nor Abateze have been seen since their abduction. The Minister of Defense, PCT, and its former director, Major General Herbert Dilabogo Mashego, as respondents, contained significant details about the incident. CCTV footage included in the court documents reportedly captured Special Forces personnel driving PCT vehicles at the mall. The footage also showed that moments after Abadiga and Abateze paid for their parking, an unidentified man did the same, and the tickets were later used to facilitate a quick exit for 2 of the PCT vehicles. 4 hours later, Abadiga's Lexus was seen leaving the mall, followed closely by a grey Audi, another PCT vehicle. Given the vast size of the Mall of Africa, which houses over 300 stores, these movements appeared unlikely to be coincidental. However, in his response to the court, Mashego acknowledged that Special Forces personnel and PCT vehicles were at the mall, but claimed they were engaged in a training exercise and were not involved in the abduction. The court ultimately did not rule on the substance of the case, dismissing the application on the grounds of urgency. Following the unsuccessful court application, the police assigned a new investigator to the case, Lieutenant-Colonel Frans Mathipa, a member of the Hawks Crimes Against the State unit. According to the Abadiga family's attorney, Yusuf Kasim, Mathipa conducted his investigation with professionalism and diligence. By late July, Mathipa had informed Kasim that he had secured court authorization to access the phone records of SANDF members present at the Mall of Africa on the day of the abduction. This authorization, obtained under Section 205 of the Criminal Procedure Act, would allow him to subpoena private records, potentially uncovering evidence of SANDF involvement in illegal activities, including the kidnapping of 2 civilians. Abadiga's phone had been switched off immediately after his abduction, but was reportedly reactivated a few hours later. The records Mathipa sought could have pinpointed its location at that time, potentially revealing whether it had been taken to a safe house or a military facility. However, in their last conversation on July 21st, Mathipa told Kasim that he was facing obstacles in obtaining these records from the SANDF. He was also waiting for footage that tracked the movement of the vehicles used in the abduction. On the evening of August 6th, Mathipa was assassinated. According to the SAP's incident report, he had been en route to collect information related to the abduction case when he was shot in the head while driving north on the N1 highway shortly before the Hammanskral off-ramp. It was confirmed that the assassins were traveling in a black luxury German vehicle. At present, it remains unclear whom Mathipa intended to meet. However, The precision of the killing, 1 or 2 shots fired from a moving vehicle without a spray of gunfire, suggests that the perpetrators were highly skilled marksmen. Notably, the crime scene was located approximately 10 kilometers from the Special Forces training school in Murray Hill, north of Pretoria. A week later, on August 13th, it was reported that Mathipa had agreed to meet an unidentified group near the Hammanskraal off-ramp. According to journalist Erica Gibson, he had told colleagues that the guys wanted to talk, presumably referring to some of the suspects. The report further alleged that just 2 days before his murder, Mathipa had met with SANDF Special Forces and members of the State Security Agency's SSA counterintelligence unit in Pretoria. During this meeting, he reportedly issued an ultimatum, stating that he would proceed with the arrest of Special Forces personnel linked to the case, regardless of whether the military cooperated. The SANDF, in turn, allegedly dismissed his efforts, claiming he was investigating the wrong people. The Lady R affair exemplifies high-level political maneuvering at the expense of ordinary citizens. President Cyril Ramaphosa and then Minister of Defense Thandi Modise should have been aware of what was loaded onto the Lady R. If not, then the failures of military intelligence and the SSA, despite their vast budgets, would be glaring. These agencies should have been able to track the events unfolding in Simonstown during those summer nights. Meanwhile, US Ambassador to South Africa, Ruben Brigitte, claimed to possess knowledge of what transpired, but has yet to present any public evidence, opting instead to submit information to the Mojapelo inquiry. This closed-door investigation, led by retired Judge Phineas Mojapelo, had been framed as a pursuit of the truth, but has functioned as a secretive, executive-controlled process. A judge, in principle, should recognize the dangers of participating in such an opaque investigation. Leaks to the media conveniently suggested that Mojapelo's inquiry found no evidence of weapons being loaded onto the Lady R. With no clear counter-evidence, political narratives have taken over, further obscuring the truth. However, Mathipa's work indicated that wrongdoing had taken place. His assassination raises the possibility that he was close to uncovering a truth that posed a threat to powerful figures within state institutions. If state actors were involved in extrajudicial abductions, circumventing legal due process, could they fear that exposure would unravel a much larger operation? One involving motives, power struggles, and hidden financial interests. Given the involvement of both local and foreign security services, it is imperative to uncover who orchestrated Mathipa's murder and why. Allowing this case to fade into obscurity as just another unsolved assassination risks entrenching a culture of impunity, one where abductions, targeted killings, and illicit arms deals become normalized, echoing the dark days of South Africa's past. However, despite this, some folks seem to support the operations of the SANDF. Tell us in the comments, what do you think?
In a media briefing, the South African National Defence has denied the existence of the deadly squad, squashing allegations as fabricated and misinformed.
The South African National Defence Force has noted media reports making alarming allegations about the existence of the so-called South African National Defence Force death squad responsible for acts of kidnapping, torture and murder. The South African National Defence Force views these allegations in the most serious light, as these fabrications has the potential to damage the image and reputation of the South African National Defence Force.